Welcome in, fellas.
Yeah. Welcome.
So today we'll be diving into one of the NFL's worst kept secrets. Why do quarterbacks keep winning the MVP? And why are other positions, like especially defensive players, left out each and every year?
Defense is forgotten about, man.
Yeah. So where do we stand on that initially?
Yeah, well, since 2000, 21 of the 25 MVP awards given out by the NFL have gone to quarterbacks, and none of those have gone to a defensive player.
Golly.
That's crazy because defense, they say defense wins championships.
Yeah,
That's what I was thinking.
Like, that's crazy that all of those went to one position. I know quarterback's important, but it's interesting. Huh.
Yeah, it is seen as the most important position, but is it really that important to where no other positions have been winning them? And even those four other players have all been running backs. Like no other positions getting
running back
love.
makes sense. You look at like this year, Saquon. He had a great year, and people argue that he could have maybe made a case. But he won offensive pick. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
he broke the record, but he did win offensive player of the year. I think that's good that they have that, so that maybe the skill positions can win offensive player of the year. Quarterbacks can win the MVP, but everybody wants the MVP.
But then are you really the MVP though?
Yeah.
Like you gotta think like offense is the same thing as quarterback and running backs are in the same category of offense. So how is the offensive player of the year a running back, but the MVP is a quarterback?
Yeah, exactly. That's why a lot of people have been saying like the offensive player of the year is more of like a second place award.
It's like a charity award to the non-quarterback who does well.
Yeah, to the guy people argue should have won it, but there was a quarterback involved in that conversation, so it automatically goes to the quarterback every time.
That's interesting.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, so first topic we wanted to dive into was again that bias towards quarterbacks. Like 21 of the last 25 MVPs have been quarterbacks, and stretching it out further, 48 of the 68 total MVPs have been quarterbacks.
When was the last time a defensive player won MVP?
It would have been 1986. Lawrence Taylor.
It's a long time ago.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
He was only the second ever
He's
one.
not dead.
Lawrence Taylor?
No, he's
wait.
not dead.
I thought he passed. Wait,
No.
I thought some.
You're thinking of O.J. Simpson.
That's it.
He was not on defense.
No.
He never won an MVP.
He did win an MVP.
Okay.
1973.
There you go. He was the first guy to ever rush for more than 2,000 yards in a season.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah, he was. Won that MVP award.
Yes, sir.
R.I.P.
How did we get to O.J. Simpson?
Wow. That was quite a turn. Still, 1986, you said?
Yeah.
There have been guys that went crazy on defense, so.
Yeah, of course.
Recently, we had T.J. Watt tie the record for sacks in a season.
Yeah.
And where did he sit in that?
I don't think he was even in the top 3 talks for that MVP that year.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. You break that big of a record, single season. You're not even considered.
Even his brother in 2014.
Yeah. So Texans
20 and a half sacks. Yes, Texans fan.
Dude, he even got a touchdown too on offense.
Yeah.
He played tight end a couple times.
Yeah.
He was a beast. He was the reason that the Texans were solid that year.
Yeah, the only reason.
Yeah. That was Matt Schaub, maybe even after.
It was either Schaub or Osweiler.
Either way, not great.
Did they make the playoffs that year?
I believe they did.
Yeah, like you're telling me horrible offense, but
that's a valuable player if you ask me.
Yeah, it's pretty valuable.
Yeah, you could argue just the most valuable.
Yeah. Who won MVP in 2014?
That was Aaron Rodgers.
Ooh.
Oh,
one of his.
Aaron Rodgers.
One of his way too many.
4 or something like that. That's
4.
the thing. He's won 1 Super Bowl. He's won all of these MVPs. I know the playoffs aren't supposed to go into the MVP, but
we should have seen more correlation there.
Yeah, it's definitely him playing quarterback definitely helps. You don't see like Jerry Rice going in there and winning like 5 MVPs.
Because maybe should have seen him win.
Yeah,
multiple
maybe.
MVPs. So some of those years were outstanding. Again, they just gave it to the quarterbacks those years.
Aaron Rodgers won 4 times. You're telling me I don't think he deserved maybe one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, well, one of the times he won the MVP, it was when Cooper Kupp won the Triple Crown as a wide receiver.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, a lot of people thought that Kupp should have won. And what did they do? They gave Kupp the Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah,
And
yet again.
gave the quarterback.
Who was his quarterback at the time?
Cubs.
Was it still Stafford? Yeah.
Was it Goff? It
No,
might have been Goff.
It was Stafford that year.
When did Stafford join?
Because that was their Super Bowl year. That year.
Okay.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, he had joined that year.
Yeah, first year.
That offseason.
They were good.
I mean, but there was no talk about Aaron Rodgers then, or not Aaron Rodgers, it's Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, he wasn't
Yeah.
in MVP.
Well, because
Right, he's still
all the focus went into Kupp. Kupp was
Yeah.
the workhorse of that offense. So
Yeah.
I mean, Rodgers, he had a solid year. What, he'd make the NFC Conference Championship that year? I don't even think that. They lost to the Niners,
yeah,
right?
They
In
went
the
out
divisional.
to the divisional. Yeah, I'd argue that 2021 season was Aaron Rodgers' worst year of his 4
Yeah.
MVP seasons.
I could definitely agree with you there.
Yeah.
Kupp,
Threw his
Honestly,
most
was
picks
robbed.
that year. Yeah.
Triple Crown is yards, touchdowns, and
And
receptions.
catches. I think.
Yeah. Hey, we saw Jamar Chase do that this year, and
Yeah.
he wasn't even on the table for MVP.
Yeah.
It was Lamar or Josh Allen.
Well, they didn't even make the playoffs.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. That was a crazy team.
So does playoffs have to do with anything?
Well, they're supposed to do all the MVP voting before the playoffs even begin, so they aren't supposed to take any of that into consideration.
Yeah, but they
but-
knew the Bengals weren't going to make
Yeah.
the playoffs, so
Yeah,
maybe
at
that
the
plays
time of
into
voting,
it.
that might have played into it. I think a large part of some of these quarterbacks is because they attribute the team records to quarterbacks as well.
Mm.
And so they just see that flashy record on there, which you don't really attribute to wide receivers or defensive ends or anything.
That makes sense.
Okay, I know Joe Burrow had a stellar year this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
But
And-
was he even in the mix? Was he even in the talks for MVP?
I mean, not really. I mean, he led the league in passing yards. I think he was top 2 in touchdowns this
Yeah.
year, and still he was third guy on everyone's mind.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
That record matters a lot.
Behind Allen and Lamar?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really did just become Allen Lamar down the stretch. And when you have guys like Saquon, Jamar, Burrow, quarterback, but team didn't do as well. It's a little telling that it ultimately was still only down to the 2 quarterbacks on good teams.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, even you take Saquon with his 2,000-yard season, and he did have an incredible record. Like they
Yeah.
went, they
I mean,
went
he was
14-3 or 13-4.
Huge part of them winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and still don't give him that credit.
You gotta wonder. I mean, they give the awards out right before the Super Bowl. It's hard not to just want them to include the playoffs almost.
Yeah,
Because Saquon, I mean, he had a great regular season, broke the record, but then if they wait until after the Super Bowl, maybe he gets even more credit because they realize he was not just a big running back in the regular season, but also a huge help in their playoff run.
yeah, but I think that's kind of where that Super Bowl MVP comes into. Like,
Sure.
takes especially the Super Bowl into account, but also sometimes relies on a bit of postseason success too, to name that award.
Hmm.
Even Super Bowl MVP, though, a lot of times goes to the quarterback. It was Jalen
Yeah.
Hurts this
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, even
I
though-
mean, the defense is probably what really stepped up for the Eagles in the Super Bowl, but it just went to Jalen Hurts.
I mean, dropping 40-something points. What was the final score of that game? You
Yeah,
can't
I wanna say
say
it was
40 something to like
4-6.
Yeah.
No,
No,
it was
they
44-6
stayed
at a
at
time.
21.
Yeah.
But the Chiefs came back and
I
scored a
think
couple
they ended up
garbage
with like
time.
20, but it really wasn't close.
Yeah.
Uh,
What about non-MVP?
yeah, like even
Like-
taking away from the MVP award, other award winners around the league, comeback player of the year. We've only seen 5 defensive players win that award since 1998.
Interesting.
The award was reintroduced.
I mean, recently we had Joe Flacco win over DeMar Hamlin. I mean, that was a little controversial.
Yeah.
Me personally, I think that was the right call because you want to award comeback player of the year to the guy that produces, not just is there.
I mean, it's Joe Flacco. But
Hey, he brought the Browns to the playoffs that year. That team was
Yeah.
not respected as a roster, and he still brought them into the postseason.
But even with that, just coming back from that sort of injury. Like we saw him.
Oh, for sure. It was very impressive. But I don't know. I think Joe Flacco should have won.
Yeah, there's an argument.
I'd take a little
Little change
halftime
of scenery. Yeah. Yeah. Didn't like the lighting. So where were we?
Talking a little bit about Joe Flacco, Lamar
yeah.
Hamlin.
Comeback player of the year.
I don't think we got to Drew Brees yet though.
Ooh.
That's
Big
Drew
topic,
Brees.
big
There's a
topic.
Saints man over there.
Yeah. I think in this same kind of topic, I think we see a lot of bias against certain players too, like not just their positions, but like for example, Drew Brees. I think there were multiple times that he should have won the MVP, and they decided to hand it out elsewhere to those players that they like handing the MVP out to.
Look, Aaron Rodgers.
Dude.
Yeah.
We were talking about that.
Yeah,
For sure.
Even today, the man is what, 40-something years old? Is he 40
I
now?
want to say he's like 39.
39, somewhere around that area.
Old.
Even today, they're still hyping him up. Like, bro didn't do anything on the
I know.
Jets. And then,
Well, yeah, he's having this big free agency tour. It's like,
Yeah.
I know I have a Steelers fan friend that is
That's
like
rough.
angry that they're even
Yeah.
pursuing Aaron Rodgers. The thought of him being their quarterback this year is like horrible to him.
and I mean, he's just tying up that whole franchise. Like they don't
Yeah,
know what to do at
exactly.
quarterbacks. They aren't sure if he will.
Might
Sign
maybe
with them.
maybe would have drafted Shedeur
if
Sanders
it was,
earlier.
if it was
but
up to me, I think I would have picked him.
I would have. I don't know what Shedeur said in those interviews, but
I personally
would have taken him
enjoyed-
before the fifth round.
I personally enjoyed that hate watch. Just watching him slide.
I wanted to see how far he would slide.
Yeah.
But, ultimately, he's a draftable quarterback. Like, he's one of the better quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's true.
From the sources themselves. So.
I'm with Mel Kiper. I think he's a great quarterback prospect.
Yeah.
I don't know what he said in the interviews again,
I
but
think Mel Kiper is off something, but it's a completely different topic.
oh yeah, we're straying off
I
topic.
mean,
Back to Drew Brees.
Yes, of course.
As
All back to
always.
Drew Brees.
Like 2008, for example, like he went for over 5,000 yards and 34 touchdowns. He gave the award to Peyton Manning. I believe that was his third of his career. His third MVP of his career.
Well, what did Peyton
out of an
Manning do
eventual
that
five.
year?
He barely went for 4,100 yards, went for 27 touchdowns and more interceptions
it?
than
So
Brees
less
did this year.
touchdowns, less yards. That
Again,
doesn't make a lot of sense.
it wasn't even close.
They argued that it was because of the records that year, because Manning went 13-3 that year, Brees went 8-8. But also you have to think about it.
So we're seeing a trend here with the records.
This was also a stacked Colts team that had been building a dynasty.
Yeah.
Drew Brees had gotten to the Saints team, turned it completely around just 2 years prior.
That was fairly early in his career, right?
Yeah.
And he'd only been on the Saints for a
Since
little bit.
2006. So yeah.
I wanted to bring up about the records, though. It's like records is a team game, all right?
Yeah,
MVP is an
exactly.
individual game,
Yeah.
all right? But still, defense, I feel like defense is more of a team game than offense is. And so when you're talking about records, where's the defensive MVPs in? You
Yeah,
know, it's
exactly.
Yeah, they get the defensive player of the year, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah.
But
That's
I
their
mean, that's not what
MVP.
they want.
No, they want the
You know?
MVP.
Yeah. Everyone wants to be that next defensive MVP.
It's interesting because, like, going back to the records thing, yeah, the most valuable player should be on a good team. So I understand the tendency to give it to somebody that's on a better team. But, like, at the end of the day, if you have somebody like Breeze that's outperforming
Yeah.
Manning by a good amount of yards, good amount of touchdowns, I mean, why not give it to Breeze?
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
And I mean, this is second ever 5,000 yard passing season since Marina's 83 season or 84 season. Not bad.
Dang.
But
That's ball knowledge right there.
Yeah. It's a different sport, but it's almost like going back to when Jacob DeGrom was on the Mets.
Okay.
And he had an ERA, it was like
170.
150, and his record was like 9-8.
yeah.
Because the team couldn't give him run support, but he was still the most valuable pitcher. I mean,
Yeah.
he was the best pitcher in the league that year.
Did he?
It's the
did
same
he,
thing.
He make it that entire year without injuries? You remember?
I'm not sure.
Right.
It's kind of an issue with DeGrom, unfortunately. But
I mean, so let's talk a little bit about like a new system. how would we, what would be some ideas for a new system? Because honestly, it's a little bit off topic, but like, couldn't you see Travis Hunter winning MVP coming up here soon? I mean, if he plays both sides of the ball,
True.
you saw how easy it was for Ohtani to win MVP when he
Yeah.
played both sides.
Yeah.
The first year Ohtani won MVP, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. had such a better year
Mhm.
hitting the ball, but
He
he
did.
just Ohtani got it because he played both.
He did both.
And so
Yeah.
you wonder with Travis Hunter. You just saw it with the Heisman. I mean, Genty, a record-breaking year on the ground, they still didn't hesitate.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'd propose because of these voting systems that we have in place for these awards, like for the NFL, they use 50 press members to vote on these awards each year.
Which I've always hated.
Yeah.
I hate when they let media personnel
Yeah.
vote on awards.
Yeah.
Same thing. I'm going back to baseball. I'm a baseball guy. I'm sorry, but the Hall of Fame, the Baseball Writers of America is who gets to decide who makes in the Hall of Fame. I think that's dumb because the media can have biases.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, staying on baseball, recently there was one guy who should have been unanimous, but there was one person.
Ichiro.
Ichiro.
Yeah, one
person
guy
said
didn't
no.
vote for him.
Why?
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense. He was a
Doesn't make sense.
3,000 hit getter.
It's got to be similar to the NFL of like just a bias. Like
Yeah.
that, you're telling me that one guy didn't have a bias at all?
Yeah, we've seen the bias. It's the same guys winning. It's the non-quarterbacks not winning. It's the guys with good records winning over
Yeah.
like 8-8 spectacular seasons.
So who should be the people that votes for MVP?
I believe that it shouldn't be people voting for MVP necessarily.
Okay.
I think we need to bring in like some sort of standardized system or algorithm to
Interesting.
like almost like make
Just
everyone
weed out the personal feelings.
yeah, get rid of that personal bias and everything, and then in this system we can figure out a way to make everyone's stats correlate to a certain number, and
That's
best
interesting.
score wins at the end of the
Yeah,
year.
they'd probably have to take some like really advanced analytics.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you don't
Yeah.
just want to go off of like who had the most yards, who had
Yeah,
the
exactly.
most touchdowns. It's probably hard to mesh like different positions,
Yeah,
but if done
especially-
well.
Yeah, especially once you go offensive and defensive side, could kind of get dicey there.
Yeah, that's true.
I
You could give
know-
everybody a chance.
I know for baseball there's WAR, and
Mhm.
I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure you
WAR.
did a little conversation about WAR on.
Yeah,
for your
WAR is a
RPGs.
very great stat. It's like one of those like all-encompassing stats. You know, you can look at a guy and see their WAR, and that's how valuable they are to their team. It's
Yeah.
obviously the number isn't going to tell the whole story all the time, but it's pretty close. It's closer to anything that the NFL
Yeah.
really has.
Yeah, I think like a solid like war system for the NFL would be great to implement and kind of
Yeah.
guide the MVP decisions.
Yeah, even if like it's not just whoever has the most WAR wins the MVP.
Yeah.
Just having that stat be more of a mainstream stat
Yeah.
could be very huge in allowing the guys that are truly valuable to their team to win the award.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's kind of the direction that the NFL needs to move going
For
forward.
sure.
Move away from these, just people that aren't in the league, aren't connected with the league. All they do is write about the league. So
Yeah.
they develop their own personal biases based off of who got them the most stories that year. Like they're obviously going to like those people more because
Well,
they
yeah.
make more money off them.
What's the Associated Press doing? They're not scouting these guys. They're not looking in depth to these games. They're looking at the stats. They're writing their stories, and then
Yeah.
just based on the stat line, who they think should win.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Which honestly is why we should probably have more diverse voters in general. Like more coaches, more players, scouts, maybe even fans. I mean, I feel like a jumble of all different perspectives would really help.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that kind of brings into like Pro Bowl voting. That's kind of what they do there.
Yeah.
Of course, there's still a lot of questions there, but that
It's
is
tough to have like all fan votes because the fans
Yeah.
definitely not professional.
but
There's
even with-
definitely gonna be a bias there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for them to have
Always
some
vote for your
say.
team.
Yeah.
but even with Pro Bowl voting, there is player and coach voting.
Okay.
All tied
That's
into
good.
that. But of course, that would still. I think that also needs to be fixed. I think there's too much fan voting there. But
Yeah.
separate topic for a different day.
Fan voting is a tough topic because as a fan, I want to have a voice, but at the end of the day, I'm one of many other people,
Yeah.
and they probably don't have the same viewpoints as me. They probably have their own biases and their own opinions, and it's a tough line to
Yeah.
come across, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I think that about wraps it up. If you're seeing this, let us know your thoughts. Who do you think got snubbed? And what would be your ideal NFL award voting system? Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thank y'all.
Thank you.